Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Podcast Network and on Patriots Press Pass. It is the best day of the year. Our very first live mock draft show of the offseason. Alex and I are going to run through a 7-round Patriots mock draft right here over the next hour or so. Gonna let some people trickle in. So we're gonna talk about some things that have happened in the news over the last couple of days. But first and foremost, Alex, I know you're pumped for the mock draft show. I'm pumped for the mock draft show. We're gonna have a lot of fun doing that. Before we get to that, Malcolm Butler signs back with the Patriots yesterday, a reunion that nobody saw coming. I think that was even maybe a surprise to the team that Malcolm Butler was even available to come back or wanted to come back after he retired last year. What was your initial impression? How do you feel about it? Do you think it moves the needle at all for the Patriots moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I was pretty surprised. I guess I was more surprised Monday when they had him in for the meeting, right? You're not going to have him in for the meeting if you're not seriously contemplating signing him. That was really the big shock when they got the deal done. You know, the money stands out a little bit, 2 years, $9 million. I'm guessing most of that is in bonuses and incentives and not guaranteed. More so the 2 years. This is a guy who just retired, who now is looking at a multi-year deal. I don't think they'd structure his deal like this if there wasn't a chance he would play 2 years, right? I think that there's at least a shot that he hangs around here. Low risk, high reward. I mean, I can't imagine they're giving him too much guaranteed money. I don't know that he necessarily gives them a top of the depth chart corner, but if he can be your third corner, your rotational corner, if he can maybe mix in and play some safety, he gives you a veteran in what is a very, very young room and is going to be a very, very young room. I think that's big. And the other thing I wonder is if they can bury the hatchet, because I don't know that it was uglier between anybody besides the Patriots and Gilmore, in Butler. If they can bury the hatchet, and the Patriots bury the hatchet with Stefan Gilmore, because it sounds like the market's not out there that he was expecting. If he's going to have to come back on a 1-year prove-it deal, what better place to prove it than, you know, in the scheme with the coaching staff that he's proved it before. So, you know, if you're suddenly looking at hypothetically Gilmore, Butler, Mills, and a top 60 pick, it's not horrible. I don't know that it's better than what he had last year with J.C. Jackson, but that's something. Right. And then you had Devin on the back end, Jonathan Jones in the slot. It's not amazing, but it's capable. It's capable. So, yeah, I don't see how you can't like this move. I don't think their corner issues are anywhere close to solved by making the move, but I still think it's a good move.
Yeah, I like the move too. Like you said, it doesn't solve all of their problems, but it's a depth option. And I feel like corner, in a lot of ways for the Patriots, is starting to resemble the same issue that they have at wide receiver, which is they have numbers 2 through 5 on the cornerback depth chart, but they don't have number 1, right? So in a lot of ways, by bringing in Butler, by bringing in Terrence Mitchell, by having a guy like Jalen Mills already in-house, and then Jonathan Jones coming back from the injury, now at corner, they feel like if you add a Stefan Gilmore back in, if you add a first-round pick back in, now all of a sudden that room has started to fill out a little bit more. So the biggest issue that I see with Gilmore is that, one, I think this is more money than it is relationships, right? I don't think that this is necessarily about friction between Belichick and Gilmore or anything like that. I think this is more a money situation on whether or not Stefan Gilmore is willing to take what the Patriots have to offer him, or at least are willing to offer him. If he's willing to take that 1-year prove-it deal because his contract's not out there, then I'm all for it. Anybody would be all for it. I don't think that the fragile relationship or the fractured egos in that equation are necessarily a factor. But the problem is that teams like the Raiders, now there's reports out there that the Kansas City Chiefs are also interested in Stefan Gilmore. It sounds like he's got some suitors that are going to push up the cash a little bit. And are the Patriots going to go double digits for him?
Let's remember what the report was regarding Kansas City. They said they're interested if his market comes down.
Right.
If Stefan Gilmore, you know, if he's not going to get what he wants and he needs, again, that 1-year prove-it deal, do you want to go play in the AFC West against Mike Williams and Keenan Allen and Devontae Adams and all those guys? Right. Or do you want to come to the AFC East, which again is still a good division, but I don't know that they have quite the firepower, and you're also in a more comfortable system if you're Gilmore. So I'm still not ruling it out. I still can't rule it out.
I wouldn't rule anything out. After we saw Malcolm Butler come back, you really can't rule absolutely anything out at
That's
all.
basically the point of this take for me, is that if Butler's coming back, anything is on the table. Anything is on the table. The real reunion, though, they need to work on is Trey Flowers. But anyway.
Yeah, so with Trey Flowers, I think the biggest thing that I've heard about that is that he ended the season on injured reserve, and then he was waived with an injury designation by the Detroit Lions. So a lot of the time when these types of things happen, when they want to start getting on free agent visits and bringing guys in and for tryouts, he's got to be healthy to come on a visit and try out for the Patriots, right? So I think the slow-moving market for Trey Flowers is related to the fact that he's not fully healthy. So I heard like a similar situation with Jason McCourty, for example, who had a foot surgery last season and is still recovering, not 100%. They're going to revisit, not saying the Patriots, but just Jason McCourty's camp is going to revisit his free agent market coming in May, like right after the draft. So I think the same thing could happen with Trey Flowers, that once he's 100% healthy, then maybe you see his market start to move a little bit faster. Other news and notes here over the last couple of days: Tyreek Hill traded in the division to the Miami Dolphins. Marquez Valdes-Scantling replacing him today with the Kansas City Chiefs. After seeing the MVS contract, I've been told, like everybody else, the Patriots just weren't in on that at that asking price, at that number, which makes total sense. I think that we can all understand why the Patriots didn't want to give $18 million in the first 2 seasons of the contract to MVS. He's just not the type of player that they are going to overpay. But you look at Tyreek Hill in the division, we're about to pull up the mock draft. Does this change at all what types of corners you would like to see the Patriots go after, or how they build their defense, knowing that in Miami, they're going to have to deal with 2 of the fastest players in the league on the same offense?
Not really, because they needed speed anyway. I don't know that, I can't even think of the word, but emphasizes the need, I guess would be the word. But I don't think it changes anything.
Yeah, it does help that a guy like Kair Elam tested in at 4.38, 4.39, something like that. Trent McDuffie is a really fast corner too in this draft. It has great open field tackling skills. So maybe those are some of the guys that move up their board a little bit. But the main thing that I wanted to hit on with the Tyreek Hill trade, more so than the corners, is what the Patriots are going to do moving forward at wide receiver to get a talent on that level, to get a Tyreek Hill, to get a Devontae Adams. Because at this point, what we have seen is 2 things. Either you can overpay for average players, like Christian Kirk gets 4 for 72. MVS gets 3 for 30. Those players are not big time needle movers, right? Those guys are not big time game changers. So you can go in free agency and you can overpay guys like that. Or you can give up 5 draft picks and make Tyreek Hill the richest man at the position in the entire history of the National Football League to get somebody like that. Or you can draft somebody and have him on a 4-year, cost-controlled, low-budget contract. If you're Bill Belichick, I think we might be getting to the point where Bill looks at it and says, for years we felt like wide receiver in the draft at the top was too boomer bust for us. Too high of a bust rate. We didn't want to take the chance with a high pick. Now it feels like the draft is where the value is at for wide receivers, because these contracts are getting absolutely nuts. And on top of that, to acquire the guys like Hill or Adams or these players that aren't moving in free agency, they're moving in the trade market, you have to give up a 1st-round pick this year, 2nd-round pick, and 3 picks next year to make it happen. So at some point in time, if you're going to try to go out and get one of those wide receivers, it really feels like everything is pointed towards the value now being in the NFL draft, which kind of brings us to where we're at now with the 21st pick.
Yeah, I would agree with that. But, again, we've talked about this. It might be a big need, but it feels like it's a luxury need at this point. You still need a top-tier corner. Guard is still a need. I feel like the linebacker position, they've gotten closer. That's probably pushing luxury need at this point. Putting a lot on Mack Wilson, if that's the way you're going to go. But between him, Bentley, and then you hope one of the three guys who was injured last year, Hall, McMillan, McGrone, one of those guys gives you something, then okay, maybe you're all right at linebacker, and Dante Hightower is still out there as well. So I still don't know. I mean, we'll get into the board here. I still don't know. The other thing is a much deeper wide receiver class than it is corner class. I actually think this is a relatively
it's
down.
Not necessarily that I need to see, like, I don't necessarily think my take is that they need to take a wide receiver in the first round. But when you start to think about, okay, we could draft a wide receiver in the second or the third round, pay that guy a couple $1 million and not have, I think at this point, we always talk about quarterbacks being such a valuable commodity to have on a rookie contract because you don't want to pay $40 million like the Cleveland Browns are paying Deshaun Watson, right? Or Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay. You don't want to have to pay that kind of money to your quarterback. Now it honestly feels like the wide receiver market is starting to align with the quarterback market, where do you really, to get your number one guy, do you want to have to pay him $25 million a year? That's now the question with wide receivers too. And we might be saying, I think we might already be saying that the value is to have a wide receiver at the top of your depth chart on a rookie contract, because not only do you get him for 4 years for cheap, you also have franchise tag control. You also have other, types of controls. If you take them in the first round, you have a 5th-year option. So if you take a first-round receiver, you have them for potentially 5 years plus the franchise tag. So you have them for 6 years before you actually have to pay him.
Right. Unless he holds out and demands a trade.
Of course. All right, let's get into the draft. And let's talk just before we get into it, we want to throw out a few disclaimers about how we're going to do this. First and foremost, in this draft, we are just going to sit back, let the board fall where it falls, and take guys. In other drafts,
we might make some trades. We might, but we're not going in with the plan of making any trades.
Correct. In other drafts, we might say we're going into this draft with the notion that we're trading down, or the Patriots will be trading down. Right. We're not doing that. This one, we're just going to see where the board falls and then react to it. So basically, like, we're just going chalk. The second thing that I want to put out there is, what was the other thing we wanted to say?
The PFF out. We use PFF, which, shout out to them. They got the picks right. They got the kickers, the punters, the long snappers in there. The algorithm isn't perfect, right? So we're saying we're going to play the board as it falls. That being said, we are going to put blinders on at times. For instance, I did a couple simulations yesterday, like more than one, where Evan Neal got to the 21st pick. That's not going to happen in real life. We don't learn anything by doing that. Who was the guy last year? I think it was Jamin Davis, right?
Jamin Davis,
top 100 pick.
Round. Right.
He was always there in the 6th to 7th round. So we're going to put our blinders on for some guys. That's why we'll do that. Besides that, I think we're ready to go. I'll show people the sliders we're using. We're just going to use, I think, the default sliders. Evan, you tell me if you want to change anything here. These are the defaults. Seems about right.
Yes. I'm good with it.
Maybe pull the randomness up a little bit, but no, you just want to leave it like this?
Yeah, we can pull it up a little bit if you want. Yeah, but I think that's important what Alex just said, so I just want to repeat it for people. If there is a guy on the board that we don't think has any chance to actually be there when the Patriots are drafting, we're just not going to take the guy, right? We're gonna move right past it, and we're gonna try to be realistic here. So if you see, for instance, that, like, Alex used Evan Neal as a great example.
Right, exactly.
Aiden Hutchinson somehow falls to 21. We're not going to take the guy. I think that's important, because some people will look at it and say, oh my God, like, how did they not take Aiden Hutchinson? He went 22 or whatever. Well, that's obviously not going to happen on draft night. Yeah, we can make it a little bit more random if you want.
At the end of the day, this is a learning experience. At the end of the day, we're using this to try to get an idea of what might the board look like and what are the different situations going to be at the different picks. So we want to try to be realistic as possible. All right, so we're good with these. I'm going to start the draft now. Remember, it starts flying. I have no interest in trading up. Trading down, maybe we'll see when we get to 21. Realistically, I don't think the Patriots trade up from 21 this year. I don't see why we would need to do that. Agree?
Agreed.
All right, so where would we go? Here, away we go. All right, and there goes Evan Neal.
Okay.
We're just going to look. We'll look back here because it goes so. All right. So Hutchinson, Kyle Hamilton, Ickham, Evan Neal, pretty much chalk so far. This would be an interesting pick. That one could go. I think Gardner's going to be off the board, but they also went corner top 10 last year too.
Right.
The
They have
Panthers
JC Horn coming back. They re-signed Dante Jackson, so
right.
I don't know if they'll go corner there, but maybe the simulator is just thinking best player available.
Right. Although Gardner, I think, is a top 10 pick. So is Stingley. I have Stingley ranked ahead of Gardner. Yeah. Charles Cross falls a little bit. That's an interesting
one. I would be more inclined to think the Panthers would go Charles Cross with their pick over Gardner, but that's
This is an interesting one because
there you go.
Drake London and DK. All right. Trayvon Walker, Malik Willis to Washington. That still kind of feels possible, I guess. Trent McDuffie. So here's the thing. The way this board went, and it can go a number of ways, but the way this board went, early run on corners, not a great year to need a corner the way this went. Trent McDuffie going very high. Karlaftis falls a little bit. Evan, I know you've been big on that. Devin Lloyd, Jordan Davis, Eagles. That's my pick. I think he goes to the Eagles. We got Jameson Williams. So this kills the Patriots right here. These are four great targets.
This was a murderer's row board. We just said that we weren't necessarily going to trade down, but now we might have to trade down because the way that this went was exactly the Patriots' worst nightmare, right?
These are realistically the four guys we're going to discuss for the 21st pick.
Yeah, this is a doomsday. Of course, it's the very first mock draft that we do, and then we have a doomsday scenario right off the bat. Good challenge. I think that let's talk about it though, because you just mentioned it. Jameson Williams, Trevor Penning, Booth, Olave. I think if they come away with it, and then Jordan Davis was at 15, right? So I mean,
Jordan Davis, one of those Eagles picks, I think 16, 15, yeah.
Yeah. So all of Garrett Wilson. So this is basically everybody that the Patriots might want to draft just went right off the board right before we could get to this pick. This is where you look at it. And then
who went? And then Devin Lloyd went 14 is another one a lot of people like.
Right. So this is where I sit back and I look at it and I say, if this is the way that it looks, they got to trade down. They absolutely have to trade down because the drop off now that we're at is substantial where the guy that they're going to get when they trade down, I don't think is going to be that much worse. Now, the problem that you have is that if you trade down too far, then for instance, if we go to like the cornerback filter.
Well, do we want to look at the best on the board? Just lay it out.
Sure. So I like
Bernard.
Raymond.
Yeah.
I'm okay on Raymond, but I think that I would much rather draft him later.
Right. Linderbaum's an interesting one. I wonder if they would take Ojabo here and see it as a value pick.
No, I think it's still too high because he's going to be out for the whole year. The guy that I think is interesting here, if they're going to go that position, obviously Elam we'll talk about too. Yeah. I do like Jermaine Johnson from Florida State for them a lot. He's a long, physical power end that plays that strong side edge position that Kyle Van Noy vacated. I threw this out there on Twitter the other day. Do you really think that Josh Uche and Ronnie Perkins are the Kyle Van Noy replacements? Like Uche on the strong side of the run play just does not spell Patriots for me. And the other problem,
if anybody, it's Anthony Jennings.
Yeah, and the other problem that I have with it is that if you're going to go lighter and put Uche out there, or if you're going to put a new guy like Ronnie Perkins, like it feels like Judon then has to move to the strong side, and then you're not allowing him to pin his ears back and try to get after the quarterback. So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody like Johnson's high on their board as somebody that can really set the edge and play the strong side the way that they want to play it. We obviously like Kaiir Elam. I love Devontae Wyatt, but that feels to me at this point in the draft more like a luxury pick than a necessity to draft another guy on the defensive line. Out of all the guys that are left on the board, I would say that Wyatt's the most talented. He's got the highest upside and probably the best all-around prospect that's still left. Let's look at some of the trades, though, because I think that that's ultimately where we're going to hit with this pick.
So, but here's the thing, and this feels possible. There's a lot of teams that like these guys. There's a lot of teams that like the players that just went. We have no trade offers. So what that means in terms of the PFF thing is we're essentially not going to get as much back for this pick as we'd like. And that's kind of the same thing in real life. So the question is, how far down do we want to move, right? So if we look at it realistically, we like Raymond. We'll add Wyatt. We like Wyatt. we like Ojabo, we like Johnson, we like Elam. So that's 5 players, right?
Yep.
Do we still want a shot at one of those 5 guys? Are we fine moving beyond that? Right? Do we want to move back into do we want to stay in the first? Do we want to move all the way out of the first round into the second? The one I've been toying with, because there is such immense value in that first round pick. You said earlier in the program, Evan, the 5th-year option. Well, if we go here, Detroit's already made a first round pick, and they have the 34th pick. So they may be okay giving this up. They may be okay, if we were to do that in a third. Right?
Yeah,
I thought about this early third.
I thought about this equation a lot too. I feel like Detroit, I think if you trade back into the early second, you are starting to risk losing some of the guys that you probably want to make with that pick. So if you can get this pick from Detroit at 32, the question that I have is, if I'm the Patriots, if I'm moving back to 32, the guy that I would really want is Keiir Elam at 32.
Yeah.
The problem is that, like you mentioned before we started here, there are some teams now between 21 and 31 that want corners. So you're going to have to get through some of these teams like KC, like Arizona, that have corners and or have a need at corner. So now I'm starting to be fearful, like, what's the next corner on the board if we don't take Elam and we trade down? Like, what are the next corners going to be on the board for us? I think
there's a pretty big drop off here.
Yeah,
I don't know why Daxton Hill's here. He's a safety, but
so they might think of him as more like a nickel. That might be why he's here. Daxton Hill's a really interesting prospect to me for them because he has some Devin McCourty in him where he can kind of wear whatever hat you need him to wear. He can play some corner, he can play down, he can play back, he can play slot. He's really a do-it-all type of matchup game plan chess piece type of DB. I don't really wouldn't call him a safety or a corner. He's a DB. He's an interesting player here too. He's not that pure outside guy, but I think between Daxton Hill and Kyler Gordon, if we trade down to 32 and accumulate another pick, I'd feel okay with coming away with either one of those guys.
So here's the one other one I'd say. Chiefs are going to take a corner. Chiefs are probably going to take a corner. Do we think Elam could make 28 and we make the trade with the Packers? They need a wide receiver. There's actually some good wide receivers on the board here, and a guy in Treylon is probably a better fit for Green Bay than New England.
Yeah,
they may realistically give up a little more for this pick.
Treylon Burks does make a lot of sense for them. They lost with Adams and with MVS. They lost some downfield ball winners, right? Like just guys that can just go out and posterize people down the field. So that would make a lot of sense, I think.
Oh, I didn't realize they have the 22nd pick too, though, because they got that
because they got that from the Raiders. So that would probably be good. That's probably where they end up taking Burks, I would think, at 22.
So they're probably not looking to.
No, not unless the Patriots can convince them that whoever. What's that?
Would the Bucs maybe trade up?
I've thought about trying to trade with that Bucs pick as well. Would they trade up for receiver? Maybe not, but maybe they.
I mean, there's also
they need an interior line, so maybe they trade up for a guy like Linderbaum here.
Is still on the board, yeah.
Yeah, but or D-line and they take Wyatt. I don't know. It's tough. I don't mind the Patriots getting left with a guy like Kyler Gordon or Dax Hill later on in this first round and risking losing Elam. You don't want to risk losing all of them, right? And I don't like any of the wide receivers that are left on the board at this point. Like, I'm not taking Treylon Burks for the Patriots in the first round. This is tough.
I think Elam's a slot corner. Or not Elam. The other two are slot corners. I just think you need an outside corner. Elam's an outside corner.
I think Kyler Gordon's an outside guy. I don't mind taking Elam at 21. It's a little high, but based off of the way that the board went, I think you kind of almost have to, right? I mean, if you really want that pure outside corner, that alpha outside guy, he's the only one left. Right. I don't think Kyler Gordon is that guy. He's an outside guy, but I don't know if he's quite on the same level as a guy like Elam. I think if you come away with either one of those guys, I'm good with it, though. I would prefer to trade down here, but if we can't find a good trade partner, then, maybe stick at 21 and take a guy like Elam.
And you guys wonder why it takes the full 50 minutes on the draft clock. This is basically kind of what happens in the room. I think trading down is the move. I really do. I think in general, regardless of what happens with the corners, get extra top 100 pick in this draft is big. So here's the Titans. Would the Titans move up? They have some big time needs. That feels like an interesting one. What do they have for picks? I agree. I think trading down here is the move. Yeah. They only have 2 top 100s. So they're probably not giving one of those up. The Bucks, I think, only have 2. They have 3 top 100s. Unless Kansas City wants to move up.
Yeah.
From one of these spots.
Yeah. Kansas City, I mean, they need wide receivers. They need to replenish Tyreek Hill. The guy to do that with, though, unfortunately, is off the board in Jamison Williams. If Jamison Williams was still there, then I would say they would trade up in a second. Do they trade up for a guy like Treylon Burks? Not really at all like what they've had in the past there. You know, they don't have the big guys on the outside. I guess like Sammy Watkins is probably the closest thing that they've ever had to that kind of big outside speed size type of receiver.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's the Lions. I think ultimately, realistically, the Lions. I think the way this.
Yeah, I'm with you.
I just think the way the board has fallen is not favorable. So I'm going to try to get this. It's a little like the Kyle Duggar trade. I want to throw in that extra 7th so we have some room to move around if we need it. Let's see if they'll go for this. And they did. All right, cool. All right, so we're moving on down. Oh, man. They got us.
They got us by 2 picks. That's okay, though. I think that there's – and Green Bay took Dax Hill, too. So here at 32, I think the pick has to be Kyler Gordon. I just don't think that you can risk losing did we lose Kyler Gordon, too?
We might have. No, I don't think so. I'll go find him. Unless, I mean, we could trade down again and get one of the depth corners. Kyler Gordon, this feels early. This feels very early.
You think? I think he's right here. I think he's end of first round, early second.
You have guys like Zion. I guess we can double up on these guys.
Yeah. I just think that I'm really nervous about drafting a guy like McCrary. Like measurables aren't everything to me, but when you have short arms and he's not just short arms, he's just a small guy. Like he's like a little bit bigger than.
But isn't that true about Gordon too?
No, Gordon's got size. Like Gordon's checks the measurables boxes. He didn't run
Patriot size. I'm saying, like he's not. 6 feet.
I mean, he's not. No, he's not. I think he might be, but he's not huge. He's not Jawan Williams, but I think he's got good size. I liked his outside corner tape. I thought it was solid. He doesn't move as fast as his teammate McDuffie, but he can play the outside more productively. Like he's the type of guy that I could see being able to match up against X's, right? Which is kind of what they need. They'll figure it out with the Z's and John Jones and doubling him out or bracketing them inside. The guy that they have trouble with right now is that outside X receiver. I think Kyler Gordon can take those types of guys.
But he's not the fast corner. I guess we missed the faster corner. We could move back to 47. Washington wants us to move back to 47.
That's a far leap.
We could do that.
No, I'm not. I'm not trading into next year. We're not getting that crazy.
All right.
I think we take Kyler Gordon here. You can talk me out of it, but that's
the only other guy I guess I'd say is Jaquan Brisker, who can be a potential future replacement for Devin McCourty. He's going to give you something this year. You're going to need just defensive backs. They've talked about, that positionless secondary. Brisker will give you some of that. He's a great athlete. He would be the one guy I would push back with is maybe Brisker.
I think it's a little bit too early to take a need of a player that you're going to really think to use in a year or two. And this team needs guys right now that are going to contribute. I think Kyler Gordon can play right now.
Okay. So, although it's not, we talked about needing speed. That's the one thing that I'm hesitant about. Does it have us 40 here?
He's not
he is 6 feet.
Yeah, he's not a burner at corner, but I think they more need that speed in the front seven. No, I don't necessarily think that they're thinking that we need outside corners that run 4-3s. Like I think it's more about getting speed in the middle of the field, in the front seven at the linebacker level. It just feels to me like the drop off here is pretty substantial. If you don't grab the corner right now, you're going to be stuck with some of these guys on later on day two, like a Josh Jobe or a Martin Emerson who's staring right at us now from Mississippi State. Those guys to me are very, very marginal. You have to plan them in advance. You have to know who you're going up against. I think Kyler Gordon's the type of guy that you can kind of just put out there and let him play. Plus, he comes from a system in Washington that plays a little bit of more zone coverage at times. So if they're going in that direction, he's going to have some familiarity with playing zone on the outside. Am I convincing you?
I guess, yeah. All right, let's go. I'm still bummed we just missed on Elam, because Elam would be the pick here, no doubt, if he was on the board.
Yeah,
but this is the way it falls. Before I make the pick, we're not moving back up from 54. Or do we want to maybe package 54 and 66 and move up a little bit?
I don't hate that. I don't hate it. Take Gordon and because then it's gonna. Can you pause
right? Well, here I'll let it. Yeah. So we lost Sky Moore, Kenyon Green, Jahan Dotson.
Okay,
and we can't see the board either.
So the Patriots did this with Christian Barmore, right? They end up basically right at this spot. I think they took Barmore at 37. No, so they did this last year. It ended up netting them 2 high impact players right off the bat, which was nice. We can't see the board though, and Sky Moore, the next wide receiver, just went. So I think the wide receiver and Dotson went too. So I think the wide receivers that are left are like Christian Watson. They're not trading up for John Mechie, right? They'll wait and have him fall.
Not here.
I personally would love for them to get aggressive with a guy like Christian Watson. I know that's the type of guy that they've busted on in the past, right? Like that's the size, speed, athletic freak, combine tester. Those are the types of guys that they've had trouble developing. But I really do like Christian Watson a lot. I don't know.
So it's the only other thing I'd say is realistically by 54. There's 2 guys I like for them in that range. Christian Watson and George Pickens. Do we think one of those 2 guys gets to, what do we think the chances are one of those 2 guys gets to 54?
I think Pickens could. I don't think that Watson will in real life, but I think a guy like Pickens definitely could, because you have such a little tape to go off of with him. Like he's got great traits, but you have such little tape to go off with him. It's a risky pick in the top 50 to take a guy that you're really basing off of a couple of games of really good production. The rest of it is all projection. But I know that they like Pickens. I think that they're going to like, that's Christian Watson this early versus Pickens at 54. The value would obviously be Pickens.
So I think then we let it run. I think then we just let it run.
All right.
Let's see. There goes Pickens.
Oh, so we lost Pickens.
Oh man, we are getting killed.
Yeah, not a great run here for us on the board. So who's that wide receiver at this point? Oh boy,
a bunch of. I mean, at this point, we wait until the 3rd round, or we have 66. I think that's So
at this point, we double up in the 3rd and 4th round on wide receiver and try to get some talent there. So
I want to see
we
what
could
linebackers
go
we have. I'm going to put safeties on the board.
Maybe OT.
Not really. This could be an interesting spot for Troy Anderson.
We got murdered.
This is like the worst case. This is nowhere to go but up from here. This is a worst case scenario to start.
Yes. All right. So here's the argument, right? Leo Chenal is their typical sledgehammer that is a little bit more explosive, a little bit of better athlete, moves faster than a guy like Juwan Bentley, but I would say is cut from the same cloth as those types of guys, right? I watch him on tape in a straight line, he's really, really fast and explosive, but you ask him to try to change directions and things like that, it gets a little bit wary at that point. Oh, they have Quay Walker way down here too. They got some guys.
Yeah.
So the reason why I think PFF has guys like Quay Walker all the way down here is because they're a production-based model, and a guy like Quay Walker is more trades-based, right? So
Right.
I also love Christian Harris here too. Like if you want to get speed on the defense, that's speed.
Is he going to play? He's not play though, because he's going to get stuck behind. He's going to get stuck behind. I can't do. Why am I blank? Oklahoma and Michigan. Why am I blanking on the names?
Ronnie Perkins and Cam McGrone. Is that who you're thinking
No,
of?
Ronnie Perkins and Uche.
Josh Uche. You think he's really? Well, those guys are edge guys.
But remember, Harris weighed in at like 220 something.
Yeah, so Harris is going to play off the ball.
I wonder if he's going to play as a pass rusher.
No, I think he's going to play off the ball. You think he's going to play pass on the line of scrimmage at 220?
As a rusher, like as a specialist, I think that might be how. Also, are they going to play him off the ball when they just traded for Mack Wilson? I just think at this point, you got to draft somebody who's going to play or has a chance to play. I just don't see Harris playing year one.
That's a bummer because that's a guy that just you put him in that defense and he's electric, right? I mean, that's speed sideline to sideline. You put him next to Bentley. Now you have your sledgehammer coming downhill on the strong side in Bentley, and then you have Harris being the one that's running all over the place. Troy Anderson's the guy that they would probably take here, right?
Well, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to guess what they would do.
I feel like they would probably take Troy Anderson because he's like the small school guy that was good at the Senior Bowl, had a great workout. He checks a lot of their boxes in terms of what they've done in the past. Like he's Kyle Duggar,
right?
Right. I think it's a little early for Troy Anderson here, but
so what about Chenal? So no, I agree. It is a little early. So is it Chenal or Anderson? Chenal or why can't I do any names tonight? Is it Chenal or is it who's the other one? Were we debating Walker?
Christian Harris.
Christian Harris.
I also love Quay Walker. I mean, that would be a great pick here too. The question that I have is like if they're locked in on a guy like Anderson, which is definitely possible, wouldn't it make sense for us to take Anderson at 66 if he gets there? And take somebody.
Yeah, but are we going to go linebacker boom boom like that?
No, I think that here we would have to go with somebody that's got a little bit more at a different position that maybe has a little bit comes from a bigger program, I guess is what I'm trying to say, right? You know, a guy that has a little bit who's on the defensive line that's left at this point.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we did anybody here. Do like Perion Winfrey, but it feels early for him. No, do like Nick Benito. It feels early for him.
Yeah, like
I think you kind of talk me to Christian Harris. We can go Christian Harris.
Yeah, I think people will like that. I don't think they'll do it, but I think the people will like it.
We're trying to do what we think they would do.
I just don't think that they would. I don't know. I just don't.
Their pick is Chenal. Their pick is Chenal. We've been laughing about this since November.
Yeah, I know, but they just re-signed Bentley, and I know that that's not everything, but I don't know. Like,
Chenal, all right. Harris, no, look here. Hedge your bets with Mack Wilson. Between Wilson and Harris, you hope one of them works out. That's basically the plan, if that's the pick.
All right, let's go with Harris.
All right. Okay, and now we let it run. Okay, finally, we don't get screwed by the board. I'm going to open the wide receiver tab. Let's do this. I like Justin Ross, but he had he's had neck surgery. His injury things freak me out.
Yeah.
Khalil Shakir, solid slot receiver.
Khalil Shakir
John Mechie's interesting.
Khalil Shakir is exactly. This is again like PFF Sport is based a lot off of college production, right? Like right. I just don't know if Khalil Shakir is going to be as productive in the NFL as he was in college. I love John Mechie here. I don't think he's making it much further than this because he's a first round talent that's going in the second round or early third round because of the injury. If he's fully healthy, he's going in the top 50. So I think that at this point is where I would definitely feel comfortable with a guy like Mechie. Another Bama guy too. Like we're just going Bama, which I like too, because that's too pro. We know they're going to go Bama at some point. So I would
add.
Yeah.
And this is pro Mechie. We're picking again in 20 picks. Do we think Ross, Shakir. I really like Calvin Austin and Wanda. Let's call them like that slot group, right?
Yes.
Are all four, the way our luck's going, they probably will, but are all four of those guys going to go in the next 20 picks? Probably not. We get Mechie, and then we can still take a top 100 receiver can play day one in terms of you don't have to worry about injury concerns or anything like that.
Yeah, so the only other guy that I would like think of, I think he might have been gone already, unless they have him. Is Alec Pierce already off the board, or did they have him all the way down there somewhere?
It would appear that he got picked. Oh, he went. He was on board before our last pick.
Yeah, he's a good player.
So we got screwed again, though. I know you like Kirby Joseph.
I do.
We got bid again.
This board did not fall our way. Luckily, this is why we do multiple of these, right?
But Mechie here, I think, makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, I think it does as well.
All right,
let's do it.
So the thing is, we do have some picks. We can move up. I can slow this down here. I'm going to slow this down a little bit.
Can you look at the before you just click it? Like, who's still available at tackle, offensive tackle?
At tackle, I think that list is really that list is getting there. Sailors plus a guard. I like Petit Frere, but it's too early.
They also don't like Ohio State guys.
Right.
Sean Ryan's my guy.
Yeah.
So that's the guy that I would start to look at to maybe get here. He can play guard or tackle. I think he can do it right away. Like, I think he's a plug and play guard or tackle for them. So the
only other
go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I'm just saying, like, do we want to? What are we moving back up for? Are we moving back up for a receiver? Are we moving back up for a corner? Are we moving back up for a tackle? Or do we just want to see how the board goes?
Yeah, maybe we should. I think that there's a chance that we can get a guy like Ryan. I think there's some really good mid-round offensive linemen. Like, they don't necessarily. They could, if Trevor Penning was there, for example, or something like that, or we got Bernard Raymond right at the perfect spot, and that's one thing. But right now, what I'm looking for is a guy that they can just plug and play. And maybe he's not a game changer. He's not going to be an all-pro guard for you, but he's going to be a really solid player. I think a guy like Ryan is like that. A guy like Dylan Parham from Memphis would be like that too, right? Just a solid NFL starting guard. Not anything flashy, but solid. I think at that point, that's really kind of what we're looking at, regardless of what any of these guys are. So I think we take Mechie, and I think we let it run from there.
Okay. By the way, everybody's saying Woolen at 85 in the chat. I see you. We
already took corner.
I think we need to double down. All right. So Drake Jackson. Hang on. There goes Justin Ross. Sailor. Pascal's a fit. I don't know that we were going to take him. Petit Frere. All right. So the tackles are starting to go. Up there goes Ryan. Right when I was going to ask you if I should pause it. At this point, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like Parham here. I do.
I knew you were going to say that. You like Parham. I'm going to pull up the tackles, the interior line. I'm going to pull up the wide receivers again. Wandale's still there?
I think if you're going to go wide receiver again, you gotta go with a guy with some size. Okay,
that's fair. I would go corner here.
Like, I would love. I don't know if he's going to get to 127 is the problem, but maybe we can package some picks back up to like they did with. Didn't work out so hot, but like they did with Dalton Keene, right? To train back up into, because a guy like Romeo Dobbs, for instance, you took the Mechie is like the system fit, the Bama guy with the connection to back, great player, great fit. Dobbs is like discount N'Keal Harry, right? Like he's like third round N'Keal Harry. That makes a lot of sense to pair those two guys together in a way so that you have both of those boxes checked. I don't know if this is it might be too early for them for a guy like Parham, because they might feel like they could get a guy in the 5th or 6th round that can play guard, right? Like, I don't know if they necessarily feel like they need to take a top 100 guard. What's the defensive line look like?
I'll pull it up. Yeah, I mean, it looks like it's been pretty picked clean here.
Yeah, D'Angelo Malone's an interesting player. I don't think that's really where we want to go here, but I also really like Sam Williams. He's got some injury,
I do too.
Injury off field, like not exactly the greatest track record there, but he's somebody that I think that they would feel comfortable maybe taking a chance.
But there's a ton of depth here. Like Jesse Lugette is a guy I really like. We can get a lot further down. I'm not too worried about that. I think it's wide receiver corner here. And we know they like Dubs. They talked to him at the Senior Bowl. I think they met with him twice. I think they also met with him at the Combine. And then maybe we take one of these picks from the 200s and 127, try to bump up maybe into back end of the top 100, just outside of the top 100. And whether it's Zion McCollum or it's Tariq Woolen or Josh Jobe, we grab one of those guys there.
Okay, I like that plan.
So before we do that, so Shakir, Austin, good players, but we want the big outside receiver.
Yeah, right. We already took the slot guy.
Right. Let's just make sure we didn't. Right. Let's make sure. Yeah, we didn't really miss anybody. Yeah, I mean Tyquan Thornton would be the next one. It's way too early for him. All right, so we're gonna take Romeo Doubs. We're gonna watch. I think once one of those corners goes off the board, Woolen or McCollum, once one goes off the board, we move up and take the next one.
Okay.
Because I'm good with either one. I don't know how you feel. I'm good with either one.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
So Romeo Doubs. Now let's watch. And one of them's going to go right here. Nope. Wandale. There goes Calvin Austin.
They don't know about
Carson Strong to Tennessee is interesting. There goes Tariq Woolen. All right. So let's see. Does this get it done?
Man,
I think of what rounds those are.
That's a 6th round pick, 210. This is Zion McCollum here is early, but they do that. Small school
if they
guy.
Like the guy, yeah.
Yeah, they don't care, right? I mean, this is very Patriots to take a guy like Zion McCollum here, who I like a lot. Really good press man tape, but I don't think a lot of other teams would take Zion McCollum here. I mean, that would be.
So do you want to try to wait? Do you want to maybe trade back a little bit further?
We could try, but
we know how this board is gone.
We're not on a great run right now, you know. I mean, we keep on losing. We were like, oh, let's just wait, and then we lose everybody. So
this would be. I'm just pulling this up on the trade chart.
The other question is like, would they also kind of like a guy like Josh Jobe, you know?
That's true. Josh Jobe is there too, so we can wait. If we can wait one more corner, basically.
Yeah, let's try to wait a little bit.
I was waiting for them to go right there.
Yeah,
Darion Kendrick's an interesting name.
Oh my gosh, really weird situation with that.
Yeah, there goes Sam Williams, by the way.
Okay, here we go. This is where I'm starting to feel more comfortable trading him back up to get a guy like Zion.
All right, and perfect. I meant to pause it after Tariq Castro Fields, but we're gonna call the Atlanta Falcons. They got plenty of picks, and now I mean this. Let me look at the trade chart here. 114 for 127. I don't think that's going to cost us that much. Good call, Evan, being hesitant. That's going to cost us about 45, 50. That's going to cost us about 20 points. That's going to cost us about 20 points. So that is 200 is worth 10, and then we'll throw in a few to move.
Okay.
You can probably grab a future 7 back.
Sure.
That feels about right. All right. Let's offer trade. Cool. All right. We're back on the board. And we're going to take let's just look. Let's see. Yeah, there's nobody here that really stands out to me.
No, I think we take our guy here. I think they're going to really like him.
A good pick.
Yeah.
I finally feel good. It took us 114 picks, Evan. I finally feel good about a pick we made. And then are we waiting? I think at this point, 60 picks.
Yeah, you like the Mechie pick.
I did like the Mechie. But that was like obvious. Like I didn't feel, it wasn't flashed. All right. And we're good to wait. We're going to wait because I'll crank this speed back up.
Yeah.
All right. So Zion McCollum is the pick. So far, we've taken two wide receivers. What was our other pick?
We took Christian
and a
Harris.
linebacker.
I think now when we get to 170, absolutely need to get an offensive lineman. Like I think 170 and 210 is sort of like the Huron on Wenu double dip. I think that's where we got to go with these 2 picks.
I even wonder. Let's see if we have offers. Let's see if we have offers at 170. I wonder about moving back and grabbing because these are both 6th 210 and 217.
Yes.
And at this point, I mean, they're going to feel like
Oh,
any
this-
lineman they
oh
can
no,
get. What?
we did this draft board really fucked us.
Who I missed
right?
it. Who went?
Yeah, just like every offensive lineman, it's all good.
Oh, Chris Paul, I like him.
Chris Paul, Zach Tom, gone. Yeah, just pretty much.
Who's going to go here that we love? Jelani Woods. A lot of people like Jelani Woods.
A lot of people think Jelani Woods can go a lot higher than this. So
yeah, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
All right, let's see who they left for.
Cordell Volson.
Boy. Hang on, I'll pull up the IOL. So they met with Cam Jurgens. They met with Cam Jurgens at the combine.
Mind it.
You don't mind it?
He's a center.
He's a true center, correct?
True center. He's not playing guard.
The other guy I'd point out is Cade Mays, 5-position lineman, multi-year captain.
Yeah. They could like Cade Mays. I could see that too.
So offers. I don't want to move back to 237.
I think Cade Mays and Cordell Volson could fit them too. Cordell Volson's like, what's a good compare? I guess he's kind of like Trent Brown. Like he's like 340, 350. Big.
I haven't studied him a ton, but I like that.
Yeah, he's a big, powerful, just mountain type tackle, like in that Onwenu Brown type size. So
do we want to take one of them? Do we want to try to trade? I don't hate the idea of trading back and getting another pick. We could even go.
What's left to?
They do have other picks because they never pick in the 5th round. Never. So we could do something like this.
Taking a specialist.
Right. Which this is normally where I pound the table for Matt Ariza, but I don't think we've had the draft where we can do that.
No.
Do we want to see if Cade Mays falls another 10 picks?
Yeah, let's do it.
Or one of those two guys falls another 10 picks? Yeah. I like picking up the extra pick because we can get another linebacker. We can maybe get a safety, maybe a running back. Let's see if that happens. All right. Here goes Cade Mays to the Jaguars. Nope. Cam Jurgens, though. Pierre Strong. Is the board? The board didn't screw. Oh, it did. Oh, it did.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Come on. You like Tyler Beatty. Admit it. I'm not saying we're going to take him.
He's the only running back I like in the whole draft. I think we go. All right, we go Cade Mays, and if we can get Volson too, I'd like that as well. But they seem to be pretty high on Volson, so he might go before our next pick. But
you want to go Volson then? You like Volson better?
I think Cade Mays got more versatility. Like Volson's going to be a tackle,
right? All right, and you know what? They need a guard more than they need a tackle right now. They have 2 starting tackles.
I think
they've got some depth there.
At guard, honestly.
You can't. Sorry, what was that?
I think Cade Mays could start for them at guard. He's a good player.
All right. I like that. If they can get a starting guard at 180,
this is a deep offensive line draft, and this happens every single year. That not just with the Patriots. Like everybody makes it a Patriots thing, but last year Kansas City got 2 starters on day 3 on their offensive line. So it's definitely not crazy to have a bunch of talent fall to you in the draft on the line because it's just not sexy to take linemen early. So teams just let them fall.
All right. So we taking Cade Mays?
Yeah. We are.
All right. I like the pick. All right. And now we have 4 picks left. There goes Volson. So we double dipped at wide receiver. We double dipped at corner.
Yes.
We could double dip at linebacker. Oh, I like JT Woods. He just went. I like Marquand McCall.
The one position that we haven't really hit on that I would like to hit on is at least somebody on the line of scrimmage, whether it's an edge guy or a defensive lineman would be nice here. And then maybe at 217, we can grab another lineman, offensive lineman.
A bunch of interesting names just went. I'll go back up and kind of recap there. Guys who might make sense for a number of reasons. So you liked Volson. Volson went.
Yep.
TJ Woods is a good deep safety. You talk about adding a defensive lineman. I would love to have gotten one of these two. Marquand McCall, Christopher Hinton. And then this is he'll probably go before this.
Yes.
Bo Melton's an interesting guy. Yeah. Tyquan Thornton too. Hassan Haskins, if they want to go running back.
No, they don't want to go running back, Alex. No.
You see who's on top of the board, Evan?
No.
We have 3 picks.
We did not have
top of the board.
We did not have a good enough draft to draft the punter. If we had gotten to, Olave at 21, I would have told you to take your damn punter. But
okay, so let's see who's here. I want to see. So this is really low for Jesse Luketa. I like Jesse Luketa. I really like LeBron Ray. If we want to triple up on Alabama.
Why? I mean, they would. So
I don't know. Have you done LeBron Ray yet? Have you looked at him?
I have not.
He basically, when Barmore got drafted, he basically took Barmore's old role.
Okay.
Played it well. Not as well as Christian Barmore, but that idea, he's a little smaller. I think 6'3". Oh, no, 6'5", 295, but he plays on the interior.
Yeah. They list him as an edge, so they probably are thinking like 3-4 defensive end, kind of like Barmore. So
yeah, no, he's the comp. I forget it. DJ Dale's not that big. He's not like a true nose. I like Luketa. Luketa can get to the quarterback.
Yep. Is Luketa an edge setter though? I don't think so, right? I mean, he's more of a
but at this point, I think they'd be fine drafting a guy who's going to be more situational. The other thing about Luketa is he's a Senior Bowl guy. They're going to like that.
Yeah. I remember.
So he can actually play.
He is a Penn State guy though. Got to point it out.
Yeah, that's true. Is that breaking the mold too much?
No, I don't think so. I think in the 6th round we kind of throw out where these guys went to school in a lot of senses, right? So
true, but at the same time, I love everybody in the chats telling us to trade down on every pick.
Yeah,
why was the chat so much nicer when we did this last year?
Guys, it's the 6th round. Where do you want us to trade down to? The 9th round? Like, I think we take Luketa. I like it.
Here's the thing: if we're trying to project the Patriots,
yes.
If we're down on 2 and it's a coin flip, and one went to Alabama and one went to Penn State,
you gotta go. You gotta go to the Alabama guy. You're right. I also think that ideally they would get somebody. The way that you're describing the Alabama guys, like he might be able to play a little bit more out on the edge, but with some more strength and more girth to him. Like I think that's what they're looking for right now on the defensive line. Edge is somebody that can play the strong side. They got their weak side pass rushers, right? They got Uche,
right? They got
Judon. They got those guys that can rush off the edge. What they need now is somebody to set the edge. And if that guy is a little bit bigger, you said, 6'5", 290, that sort of fits that mold a little bit more. So I go with him.
So the one thing about Luketa, I was trying to find the report I wrote on him because I can remember he can cover a little bit. That would be the one thing.
So he can drop, is what you're saying.
He can drop, right? He can't play the run, but he can rush the pass and he can drop. He's purely a 3rd down player, but they might not mind this range in the draft.
Okay, well that does intrigue me a little bit too, because that's Van Noy, right? Van Noy did a lot of dropping.
You're right, actually.
Yeah.
The Van Noy reply. I think we have to break the mold.
All right, let's do it. Whatever.
And you know what? Maybe LeBron Ray's there at 217, and then we just take a lineman with that last pick. Here goes LeBron Ray. Nope. Oh, I like Nate Landman. I like Jalen Naylor. Adam Ander's not going to get drafted. He has a ton of legal issues, but
you gotta look offensive line again.
I know, but we liked LeBron Ray, and he's still there.
Can we get him in 5 picks?
Oh, you're right. These are all super clustered. We could trade down again.
No, we're not trading down again.
Okay,
let's look at the.
Did he go?
No, I don't think so.
I don't know. I can't find him. I mean,
Stuber.
We need a tackle. Yeah, that's the guy, right?
So Stuber's a big guy. We got the guy in Cade Mays who can play guard, right? So Stuber, I think, is a developmental tackle. That'd be really interesting. I shouldn't even use the word developmental because he kind of just is who he is, which maybe is a good thing, maybe is a bad thing. I don't know, but I think he can be a solid tackle. They love Michigan linemen too. Those guys are coached well at Michigan.
We haven't taken a single Michigan player yet.
Yeah, I like that. I like Stuber. I had him in my first mock draft for the Patriots. I think he's a solid guy. I don't think he's going to be a game changer, but he's solid.
So here's what I would say. Since this is a experiment, obviously you see the average draft position here and then PFF's rank. Most people are taking him higher. Why is Stuber, do you think, ranked below some of these other players?
His athletic upside is not great. He doesn't have great range at the tackle spot, but the problem is that he's got tackle size. So he's too big to move inside. He's too long. He's too tall, right? He's not going to play guard, but he doesn't have the range to play like in a lot of systems. Like you're not going to put Stuber in a Sean McVay offense because he doesn't have the athleticism to get out on wide zone, right? On wide zone, you're stepping towards the sideline. You got to get out of your stance and run. Stuber is not that type of guy. But in the Patriots system, he's a physical dude. He's a downhill blocker. I think that Stuber can play right tackle for the Patriots. Probably not left because they like Wynn, Solder,
right? Somebody who can move.
More athletic guys over there. Right tackle, Andrew Stuber, that makes a lot of sense. I could definitely see that.
All right. I like it. I think that's the pick. And like I said, we haven't taken a Michigan guy. We'll recap the draft in a minute. Another Michigan guy, Bill O'Brien Ray. All right. We going back to the defensive line?
Yeah, the only other position I would throw out here is because I know you haven't said it enough, and that's running back. But they're going to take a running back earlier than this just to spite me. I can feel it.
So who's on the board for running? See, here's the thing. So I like Verdell. I really like Eric Gray. He's not in the draft. He shouldn't be here. I like Letty Bright. So we could trade back again and take both. Packers want to move back a couple spots.
All right, Packers. Give us one of your 7th.
Apparently they won't do this.
What?
I'm gonna offer it.
What do they want? What do they want to give up then?
We did get that future 7th from Atlanta.
Oh my gosh.
Now it's lopsided.
What do they want from us?
What the hell is going on? All right, who's picking 229? You know, we're jumping the Packers. Screw them. We're going to call Josh McDaniels.
Josh, do us a solid.
He only has one pick left.
Maybe we can get a pick from the future from Josh.
Well, no, we're trying to get 2 picks. That's the whole point because we want to take 2 guys.
Okay, I gotcha.
So we got to find a team. They've been calling us a bunch. Nope. Not trading in the division. Okay, come on now. Are you serious? And now it's lopsided.
I think maybe this is too much for the 7th round.
Try one more. All right, I want 2 picks though. I feel like this is a really good ending if we can come away with 2 more picks.
We can get one of these running backs as a UDFA. We're
going to sign Treston Ebner as a UDFA. All right.
Yeah.
Where'd he go? Oh, he's an edge.
Yeah, we are doing some serious business in the 7th, Chris. No stone unturned.
You know what? Yeah, no. You know what? We're doing business in the 7th. I'm going to make this work.
Just force it at this point.
That's what I'm going to do, yeah. Or we'll see. Maybe the owner won't veto it. Maybe, come on, Kraft. Let us pull a trigger. Hey, there we go. Shout out Bobby Kraft. All right. And now both guys we wanted are going to go. Up DJ Dale. All right. I got scared there for a second. All right. And we're going to get both our guys. We're going to close on a high note. LeBron Ray. I like that pick. I wish this would go a little faster here. Anyway, so let's start to recap. Who did we take first? It's been like an hour.
Okay. So the top of the draft did not go our way. And when we recap this, we can explain. But essentially, Devin Lloyd, Jordan Davis, Jameson Williams, Chris Olave, Andrew Booth Jr., and I can't remember who the other one was. There's one more name in there. All went the 5 or 6 picks before we were on the clock at 20.
Hang on here real quick. I'm going to explain to you why I'm going to take Treston Ebner. Treston Ebner is a really good receiving back from Baylor. He's a good pass blocker. He played a pass-heavy offense. He is a 2-time Big 12 defensive, big 2-time D12. It's been a long draft. 2-time Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Year as a kick and punt returner. This is your Gunnar Olszewski replacement, and he can potentially become a pass-catching running back.
All right, I like it.
So I know some people like I know some people like Letty Brown. He had an awful combine. Again, I think he actually went Eric Gray from Oklahoma, but he's not in the draft. I really like this guy too. Isaiah Pacheco. He is kind of Deion Lewis-esque, but he's not a pass. He's not a pass.
He was the one that ran fast at the combine, right? Rutgers guy.
He had a really good combine. He had a really good game against Michigan this year. This is our UDFA back here. We're going to draft Treston Ebner, and then we're going to sign Isaiah Pacheco as a UDFA. All right, and now we're done. We've traded enough. We made a ton of picks.
Yeah, we made a lot of
gross amount of picks.
We made a lot of trades. Everybody telling us to trade down more. How many times do you want us to trade down? We trade down like 4 times.
All right. So do you want to pull this down and I'll get this as a PDF?
I can't. You can only control it.
You can't just take down the screen share?
Oh, I can take it down. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. All right. I got it. All right.
I thought you meant like scroll through the picks. Yeah. So at the top of the draft, we didn't do what we wanted to do necessarily because the players were gone, and that was a big bummer. We took Kyler Gordon at the top at 32. We traded down, took Kyler Gordon. We missed Kyer Elam by like 2 picks, which was unfortunate. But we got a guy in Gordon who can play on the outside, play corner, play in man, play in zone. Not the guy that we would have preferred, but certainly somebody that can play in their system and
you can pull it up, by the way. It's all set.
All right. So not our preferred first pick in Kyler Gordon, but certainly somebody that we don't hate, right? A player that can play on the outside, good corner and man, good corner and zone. I also think that they like that Washington program a little bit. I know it's just Miles Bryant for now, but I think that they've liked that program, the way they run their scheme. They're very multiple. They do multiple different things. They're not just a zone-based scheme, even though it's mostly zone-heavy. They do a bunch of different things. So Kyler Gordon at 32, Alex, how did you feel about that?
I wish Elam had fallen. You know, yeah. I don't feel great. The fact, so here's why I'm okay with that pick. And by the way, what did PFF give us? Is that a B plus, B minus?
Well, that's
B minus.
I think that B is on the trade. So they didn't give us a full draft.
No, overall draft, B minus right here.
I'll take a B. I think that was a B minus draft. I agree with that.
You know what the other thing is? These 2 picks aren't Ds. They just hate it when you draft linemen. So realistically, this is look, like you were saying, Stuber is the pick right here, right?
Yeah, good pick. I like that pick.
We made 10 picks. That's a lot.
They only have 28 guys under contract next year. They're going to take a lot of picks. Yeah,
you're right. And we didn't give up any future assets. I believe we flipped one.
Yeah,
we got it from Atlanta and then sent it back. The reason I'm okay with the Gordon pick is we doubled down. We got Zion McCollum at the end of the 4th round, or in the middle of the 4th round. I think between those 2 guys, you're going to be able to get a player, whether it's one of them working, another one not, or they're both just serviceable and they rotate. So again, I would have rather had Elam. I'm nervous Gordon's speed in the AFC East, but I think overall, he's just the right pick. It's not a sexy pick. It's not the most overwhelmingly wonderful pick, but it's the right pick, given the way the board fell.
So I love Christian Harris. I think this might be my favorite pick of the whole draft for them. I don't think that they're going to do Christian Harris. Too small. But they need somebody with electric gameplay speed. That's Christian Harris. They brought back Jawan Bentley. I think even a guy like Mac Wilson might be a salmon or like a strong side off-ball linebacker in their system, just because he's a little bit more athletic. I don't think makes him a true weak side run and chase player for them. So you have guys like Bentley. You have somebody like Mac Wilson who can play the strong side. And then now you have a guy in Christian Harris who can just go out there and go sideline to sideline with anybody, chase the mobile quarterbacks. You want to draft somebody that can maybe give you a chance to stop a guy like Josh Allen. I think Christian Harris might be that guy, right? Yeah. He's one of those guys that can really get after the quarterback and close in a hurry. I think they need that type of guy.
Yep. Yeah. It was between him and Chenal.
Yeah.
They probably go Chenal. This was the one. And again, I say this every mock draft that I do. We're trying to project what the Patriots are going to do. It's not necessarily what we're going to do. This is maybe the one where we did what we do. But yeah.
Yes. John Mechie, Romeo Dobbs. What I love most about this wide receiver double dip is you have 2 very different skill sets, right? This reminds me, and again, hopefully it works out way, way better this time around. But in 2013, when they took Dobson and Josh Boyce, that was sort of the idea, right? You took one smaller, faster, shiftier, better, more complete route runner in Boyce, and then you took the big outside guy in Dobson. I think that this has similar feelings to it, but hopefully with better results. And John Mechie with Mac Jones, I mean, How can you go wrong with that, right? I mean, if that one flops, then it's just bad luck, honestly, because he fits the system like a glove. Great route runner, good with the football in his hands, and he's obviously got the connection with the quarterback.
Yeah, that one, I mean, again, to get a player, that's their value pick. You're getting a guy who's a first round pick later than you should because of an injury. He has experience already with Mac Jones, and it sounds like he may be ready sooner rather than later. So, yeah, I think that's a good pick. That's a solid pick. And then we went with Romeo Doubs to get some size and get a guy who can come in and play right away. He's basically going to take N'Keal Harry's spot on the roster.
Yeah, he blocks hard, plays the outside, can go up and get the football, gives you size. He's a pretty explosive guy. He's honestly, in a lot of ways, he's exactly like N'Keal Harry, but they got him here in the 3rd round instead of drafting him at 32, which is obviously much better value. So I like that pick as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And then what, we traded down again, or was it? No, that was a trade up, right? We moved up to get, because the corners were flying off the board. And Zion McCollum, he kind of popped onto the scene at the combine. He had a great combine, big corner, plays primarily press man at Sam Houston State. They won the national championship at FCS this year. He's totally their kind of guy. He's totally their kind of corner. He's a total fit. Will he be ready day 3? Great 3-cone. Will he be ready day 1? That's kind of the big question, but they need corners in the long term, not just the short term. Even if Malcolm Butler works out, he's 32 years old, right?
Right.
So Zion McCollum, here's how I feel. Kyler Gordon, high floor, low ceiling, right? He's going to come in. He's going to give you what he gives you. He'll be serviceable, maybe number 2 corner. Zion McCollum might be nothing. He might also turn into a top 5 corner in the league with their coaching, the way things have gone historically, the way they worked with guys.
Like what's going to happen. Kyler Gordon's going to be the bust, and Zion McCollum's going to be a star. Yeah,
exactly. So that's you have to. The first corner they draft is going to be a bust. So we had to draft a second corner to make sure they get a good one. That's Zion McCollum.
Yeah, I like Zion McCollum a lot. That one reminds me a lot of Kyle Duggar, right? Or later than Kyle Duggar, but same idea of he went to the combine. Did he go to the Senior Bowl, or maybe it was
Duggar was Senior Bowl guy? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Did McCollum?
Yeah,
McCollum's Senior Bowl guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Zach, real quick, looking at this list.
Yeah.
Doubs, McCollum, Mays, Lucetta, Stuber are all Senior Bowl guys. I don't remember if Ebner is or not. I don't think he is.
So Christian Harris was also supposed to go to the Senior Bowl. I think he pulled out.
It doesn't get about half the draft is Senior Bowl guys, which is about right.
What we want. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'll let you keep rolling through it.
So, Cade Mays, I don't think he's going to be a left tackle, but he can play 4 spots, I would say. And he can definitely play interior line. I actually think that that's a guy that's going to end up being a really solid player for them if they take somebody like Cade Mays. He's a well-rounded. You don't see a lot of guys at the college level. The problem with the college level is a lot of these guys' technique is super raw and all over the place. I think Cade Mays can play within himself already. And that's good. Versatility, plays multiple spots. I think he can play either guard spot. He's already further along than some other guys. Battle tested. You go to Tennessee, you play interior line or on the line in the SEC. You're going to face some dudes, right? I mean, you're not going up against guys that are going to be salesmen after their football careers are over. So Cade Mays, I like that pick too. Lucetta's your type of guy, Alex. That's one that you know more about than me.
Yeah, so he's, potential Kavin or replacement. He's a guy who's really just going to play on 3rd downs, on passing downs. You're not going to put him on the field against the run, but that's okay. If we took him in the 3rd or 4th round, it might be a reach, but did we get him? We got him in the 6th, right? Yeah. We got him in the 6th. We got him outside the top 200. That's probably a little low for him, but sometimes guys like that fall. Scheme-specific, situation-specific players. In the 6th round, getting a guy who can play on passing downs, who can both get after the quarterback and contribute in coverage, they'll find a role for him. That's a low investment for a guy who's going to give you ideally about 30% snap rate, 25 to 30% snap rate, and contribute on key downs. So I like that pick. That's a good, solid, low risk pick for a player who, this is what they do. This is what they've always made their money on. If you can do one thing really well, they'll figure out how to maximize it and give you a role. Jesse Lucetta can play really well on passing downs. They're going to figure out a role for him and maximize. He can probably play some special teams too. He can probably go cover kicks. So he's going to fit in. He's going to slot in. I don't know that he's ever going to be an elite player. I don't know that he's even somebody who gets a second contract, but he's going to come in on day one and he's going to help you win games for 4 years. And that's kind of what you're looking for at this range in the draft. You're either looking for extremely low floor, extremely high ceiling guys, like really, really raw, or just guys who are steady, back half of the roster contributors. I think Lucetta can be that.
So I know that we didn't take it early, but that edge outside linebacker hybrid spot that Van Noy's played, that Ninkovich has played, that to me is a low-key need that nobody's talking about because we all kind of expected Ronnie Perkins or Josh Uche to just step right in. If one of those guys was ready to step right in, then I feel like maybe not with Perkins because his last year was just his first year, but I still have not seen the consistency from Uche to assume that he's going to be a full-time regular starter, right? So
Sure.
They need some more guys there at that spot, unless they're going to plan on bringing Van Noy back after the draft for half the price or something like that. They need somebody that can play that spot. It's a tough spot to play. There's a lot of responsibility. And the one thing I hear about Lucetta is that he's a smart kid that understands a lot of the different concepts and roles and stuff like that. And that's a hard position to play. You have to be able to understand things both from the inside, the outside, off the line, on the line. You are kind of like a hybrid player. So you got a bunch of different hats that you need to wear. Stuber.
Yeah, this is your guy now.
Love this kid. Big, physical, basically your prototypical Patriots right tackle, right? A guy that's going to come in 320, 325, not a great athlete, but if you're going to put him in a power downhill run game like the Patriots have and just have him come off the ball and smash heads, I think that's exactly what Stuber is going to do. I think he has potential to start down the road for the Patriots at right tackle, which is what they need. They need somebody behind Trent Brown. And then you also have that ability, I think, with Stuber. You pair him with Mike Onwenu on the right side. That's going to be some physicality. Those two guys are going to be able to bring it on the run game. They like Michigan linemen. They're coached well. They're seasoned. They're experienced against good edge rush talent in terms of tackles down there. I think that's a good pick as well. And then these two guys are more in your wheelhouse, Alex.
Yeah, LeBron Ray, he's the guy from Alabama who basically stepped in to Christian Barmore's role when Barmore was drafted. Didn't play it, it wasn't Barmore, but he held up well. Just kind of another three-position defensive lineman for them. He can play on the edge. He can play on the interior. They tend to like those guys. Again, at this point in the draft, you're adding depth. He's not necessarily somebody who's going to come in and play 50% of the snaps on day one, but is a good add. And then again, I really like Treston Ebner. Great kick returner, excellent kick returner. So, and punt returner, you fill that need right away with Gunnar Olszewski out the door. And then he maybe has a chance to contribute in the passing game when you get into year 2, year 3, a potential James White replacement. Evan, he's a guy you should do research on. He's projected to be a UDFA, but the special teams background, 2-time special teams player of the year, I could see them making sure they land him and not letting him get to the UDFA market. So we grab him. I think that was like the 4th to last pick in the draft, right?
Yeah.
We ended up taking via trade. So that's how we ended up with him.
All right, so there you have it. Hopefully there are some players that we talked about tonight that the Patriots might eventually take in the draft in April. Not the perfect draft that we were hoping for. Didn't start well out of the gate, but I still feel like we got some players that can contribute, and that would be good players. Like, I definitely think guys that maybe not even Kyler Gordon, but somebody like Christian Harris and John Mechie, I think are going to be big-time players for the Patriots if they end up coming to New England. And if you are upset about us taking Christian Harris and you have been in our chat or in our replies for the past 6 months, all of you are lying because you've all been telling us that they need speed at linebacker. We took one of the fastest linebackers in the draft. So that's something to hang your hat on. We wish that we could have done a little bit better with that first pick, but Kyler Gordon, I think, is going to be a productive NFL player. So all in all, I think B- is exactly where we were at with this draft. I think that's a pretty fair assessment. This was not we knocked it out of the ballpark, A+ draft, but I also don't think we completely flunked here either, Alex.
You know what? This is a very typical Patriots draft in that I think we did much better outside of the top 100. I think we might have panicked a little bit. I think we might have reached a little bit in the top 100, but starting with that Zion McCollum pick, those are all players that are going to come here and contribute one way or the other. Maybe not a ton, but they're all going to come here. They're going to play roles. They're going to help you win games. So not that the top 4 guys won't, but I just feel like we really got in a rhythm later on. And yeah, that's kind of the Patriots drafts the last couple of years. You said it before, right? The second corner they take is going to end up being the better player in the first corner they take, things like that. So Yeah, but ultimately, like if this was their draft, I'd be happy about it. 10 players a little bit much, but some of these guys could potentially be redshirt guys. First off, you don't know. John Mechie might not start the season, right? He might start the season on IR. Stuber could be a redshirt guy. LeBron Ray could be a redshirt guy. So they could find a way to make it work.
Yeah, I think this is exactly what not Daniel in the chat. You put it perfectly. Not a dream draft, but we could live with it, right? If this is what I end up coming away with, we could live with it. We got some players here in Harris, Mechie. I think those guys at the top of the draft,
I think
we would be excited about.
I think the other thing too, and I said this at the beginning, the reason we do this is an exercise that teams do. They run through all these simulations to kind of understand what they're going to do if the board falls a certain way. So I think the lesson is, and we said this in the beginning, that board totally screwed us. That nothing favorable. I mean, Kair Elam went a pick or 2 picks before we took Kyler Gordon. Christian Watson, a pick before we took Christian Harris. If this is the draft, put the first 2 picks are Kair Elam and Christian Watson instead of those 2, and then swap out Dubs for whoever, you feel great, right? You feel amazing. Right. That was the draft I think we wanted. But for the board to go the way it did and to get this, I think we learned, first of all, I think we learned a lot, which is the whole point of this. It's a learning experience.
And we had fun along the way.
And we had fun along the way. But I think the nice thing is that, the board destroyed us. We still came out okay. There's building blocks here. I don't know that we got the day one impact player you'd be looking for, but John Mechie's that guy if he's not coming off a torn ACL.
I think Christian Harris could be that guy.
Christian Harris could be. To me, it's more of a usage thing. That's more on them. And I think Zion McCollum in a year or 2 could be that kind of impact player. So we didn't get the impact player day one, but I think we got some potential impact players. And then again, to go back to some of the guys later in the draft, some guys that will come on and contribute in, supporting roles, Mays, Lucetta Stuber, that run right there feels very them. That run right there, I think we really channeled our inner Bill and said, who are guys that are going to play, they're going to have a 40% usage rate on their side of the ball, a 70% usage rate on special teams, and they're just going to be out there week in and week out. Those are those guys. You need those guys to win. You don't want that to be your whole roster, but you need those guys to win.
Well, on that note, don't blast us too much, but we'll put it on Twitter and we'll let the
now we see what Twitter thinks.
And have the replies go nuts. Alex and I will continue to monitor the Patriots news. If anything big breaking happens, we'll be back before Tuesday. But right now, the plan is to basically go back to Tuesday, Thursday. Thursdays will be our mock draft shows. Tuesdays will be more of our news and resets and talk some positions in the draft too, and do some deep dives into different position groupings and things like that as we get closer to the draft. But at this point, I think we can I hope we can safely say, because I'm about to say it, that we can kind of turn our attention to the draft and not really focus so much on the Patriots making a huge swing in free agency. So we'll talk a lot of draft over the next couple of weeks. And as I just mentioned, Thursdays will now turn into our mock draft days. So from here until the draft, every Thursday, we'll do one of these mock drafts. Hopefully the top of the draft goes a little bit better than tonight did, but we hope that we continue to have be able to do these, and we're excited to do them. And some people in the chat said, the real treasure was the friends we made along the way. And that's absolutely true. And we had a lot of fun with this.
I will say, I think next week, let's lock it in. I think next week we're picking at 21.
Yeah, we got to take somebody at 21. There's nobody to take. I mean, we could have taken Devontae Wyatt. Like, that was probably the one guy we probably
reached on Elam. But I think, like we said, we're going to put, this was just free for all. We're going to put qualifications on different drafts as we go. I'm saying it right now. Next week, it doesn't matter how the board goes. 40 players could go ahead of us. We're picking at 21.
We're picking at 21. All right. So until Tuesday, signing off for Alex Barth, I'm Evan Lazar. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll see you next week.